Welcome to Daddy's Podcast.
This is the Redefining Plastics Podcast. Welcome to the Redefining Plastics Podcast. My name's Justin Riney. This is episode 50, the 50th episode that we've created, and it's causing me to reflect on a lot of different things, kind of where we started, where we're going, and I wanted to talk about some topics that have been burning in my head and things that are, I think, really important for the plastics industry going forward. So with that, I want to start with social media. So I spend an inordinate amount of time on LinkedIn for a lot of different reasons. I try to keep track of what's going on, kind of the zeitgeist, the feel of the culture, kind of where we're at when it comes to plastics. And so when I do that, I invariably run into a lot of misinformation. And my mind goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Should I engage? Should I correct? And I always seem to land on no, unless it's egregious and it's specific to my product or people that I care about. And the reason why I don't engage with a lot of those things is because the algorithms are based on engagement. So if I, with my follower count, was to jump on and engage with, let's say, Beyond Plastics, they say something about plastics that's incorrect. If I engage and start a thread on there, that's going to increase the amount of eyeballs that it gets. And if you look at Beyond Plastics right now, they've got a pretty decent follower count, but very minimal engagement. People don't really interact with their posts, which leads me to believe not a lot of eyeballs are seeing it. So if I was to go on there and say, no, this is wrong and here's why, and then start a conversation, then more people will see it and more people will be infected by the misinformation. So I think we're living in a weird time where I have been advocating personally, we should fight back against misinformation. We need to be vocal about our positivity around plastics. But the thing we shouldn't be doing is engaging with trolls or engaging with people that are posting things that are incorrect. I think the difficulty is we want to challenge misinformation, but if we challenge misinformation, then more people will see that misinformation. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. Then you're causing your own demise. So I don't know if I have a specific answer to what do we do other than let's just keep saying things that are correct. So it's not just that these posts are out there in the ether and nobody's challenging them. We just don't want to challenge them directly. Because if we challenge them directly and we start a huge thread, more eyeballs are going to see it. And I guarantee you, more people do not take time to look at the comments on LinkedIn specifically. I do, because I want to know who's got opinions and things like that and kind of who's on what side and what kind of background do these people have and do they really know what they're talking about? But most people don't. Most people read headlines. Most people just look at the picture and then gather whatever information they want. And so the more that we engage with those posts, the more eyeballs are going to see it. So all of this to say, we got to be careful with how we deal with social media and how we interact. There are groups out there, well-intentioned groups within the plastics industry that seem to post and respond to every post that's misinformation. And if you look at those posts with the follower count that those people have, they've actually just increased the damage because more people are seeing it. Now, if those people took the time to take the argument that was made and then make a post that says, here's an argument that I saw online, here's how that's wrong, and then put that out in the ether on social media, that's the better option. We need to stop engaging with every troll. And because if we do that, then more people are going to see those posts. So we're actually causing our own problem. And I'm learning this after I didn't spend any time on LinkedIn before a year ago. So when I started doing this podcast, that's when I really started focusing on how do I increase my social media follower count? How do I make an impact on social media to change this narrative? So I'm learning too. Let me just be clear to anybody that's listening to this. I'm learning too. But I've seen how LinkedIn works now, what gets views, what doesn't. And typically the things that get views are when there's a large follower count account or person that jumps onto any one of my posts and starts engaging. Once that happens, then multiple people that are their followers gets to see that interaction because it'll show up in their feed. So we've got to stop engaging on social media with everything that we disagree with. I know it's counterintuitive. It's like I struggle with it because I really want to do it and I really want to fight back, but we can't do that anymore. We have to step back and say, will this interaction solve anything? Will my comment start a truly engaging discussion where people are going to change their minds? If the answer is no, probably not a good idea to engage. Because if you engage, you're just increasing the reach. So with all that said, if you like my messaging and the stuff that I'm talking about, please engage with my LinkedIn post. Please comment. Let's have a discussion based on what I'm saying. Because if you do that, more and more and more people will see it. People that are outside of our bubble. Because I want to get outside of our bubble. I want our messaging to start reaching your neighbors. Because if your neighbors start to hear conversations about how recycling really works, how plastic recycling is a good thing, how plastics have a lower impact in 90+% of cases, I want consumers to know that. And consumers aren't going to know that unless they see it somewhere. And so the other thing that I really want feedback from the community on is, how do I get beyond the LinkedIn bubble? Like I tried to do Instagram, tried to do a couple other things. I just didn't think that was really moving the needle. I'm just curious if there's anybody out there, if we got any marketing experts in the community that have ideas on how I can expand the reach of this discussion and how we can have bigger conversations about things that matter and really work to protect jobs within our industry and things of that nature, because really that's the goal here, right? The goal is to keep plastics a viable option. Because I'm seeing within the polystyrene industry, every year it's going down. And some people will say, well, that's a great thing. But if you look at it numerically, our products are then being replaced by other plastic products. It's not being replaced by paper. And in many cases, that just means more material to a landfill. So we're not making the situation any better. We're actually making it worse. But some people are claiming, hey, we've moved out of polystyrene to something else. And people don't get it. People don't understand it. And that's the people that I want to be talking to. And I can't do that on my own. I really need the help of this community. So I look back on this year and I say, you know what, we've come a long way. The Brave Industries Group and Brave Media has been a huge support here, and we've really grown more than I thought we could. And I still think there's a lot more growth to come. And Samantha Ryan, being my co-host, has been very, very helpful because she gives just a different perspective. And she talks about things in a different way than I ever could. Because I can't speak for Gen Z as much as I'd love to. I can overgeneralize as much as I want, but I can't do it. So I really want to figure out how do we get beyond our bubble? How do we make an impact at a bigger scale? And how do we really advocate for our industry, not just the legislators and stuff like that? Because I can do that. I can do that directly. I can go have conversations with state lawmakers or with federal lawmakers. I can do that. I can't talk to everybody's neighbor unless I have help expanding this reach. And so I'd really love any kind of support that we can get from the community. Anybody that's got ideas, no idea is a bad idea. Reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, comment on any one of the podcasts that I put out there, but really engage is the request that I have for this community. Engage in the LinkedIn posts, engage on YouTube. The more comments that show up on YouTube, the more likely it is to expand the reach there. Because we look at who's attacking plastics, and they are really good at driving that engagement. I don't want to make clickbait articles. I don't want to make clickbait posts and videos. I want to make real videos that I care about, talking to real people making a difference. And so how do we expand and get beyond the messaging that's out there when they're really good at that clickbait stuff? And they're really good at saying, hey, you got particles of plastics in your brain that's larger than the capillaries that would have taken to get it there. Well, that obviously doesn't make sense, but nobody understands that part. They just say you got plastics on the brain. And then the EFSA comes out, so the European Food Safety had a big study that came out recently that talked about all the different studies on microplastics that are out there. And I will start with saying they did not say microplastics are not a concern. I want to make it very clear. They're not saying it's not a concern. They're just saying that the studies that are out there, a lot of them are flawed. And specifically the one with the plastics in the brain, they said that the method that was used to check whether or not the plastic was in the brain was faulty, and it should not be used in the future. But they did say that we want to continue microplastics research. And I know several of you will say, well, we've been researching microplastics for 50 years. Yeah, that's science. That's what we do. We continue to research. We continue to research until we don't have anything else to check, which will never happen. So let's continue to research microplastics to make sure that that's not an issue. What's the problem with that? What's the problem with funding that? Some people will say, well, there's a limited amount of funding going around, but I don't know about you, but for me, being somebody that has young kids, I don't want to just stick my head in the sand and say microplastics are not a problem. Plastics are great. Let's not look at any of the negative. Because it's going to impact my kids if we come to find out that it is an issue. And I'll be the first to change my tune on everything that I've said if there's a study that's done in the right way that proves that it's a problem. But if there isn't that a good thing to have studies that are out there that show that microplastics are not a bad thing? And they're just normal and it's dust in the air and everything else that I see online? How is that a bad thing for us? If we're so confident that microplastics are not a problem, let's study them more. Let's continue to put money into these things so we can prove to people that they're not a problem. And honestly, most of the time, people don't believe when it's industry funded. So support colleges and different things that are out there doing these studies. Just make sure that they understand what is an acceptable form or process to study these things based on all of the science that's out there. Support them. Why the heck not? I don't understand why. It's interesting to me because the plastics industry is always pointing at science and saying, look to the science. The science says that our products have lower GHG and lower impact and all that stuff. And great. People don't believe the science. But people seem to believe this pseudoscience that's out there where it says there's plastic in the brain. Okay, So let's continue to study that, to have another study that says that that is a faulty study. And here's how, and here's why. And then you have data to back it up. I just don't understand why we're saying things like, well, we've been studying it for 50 years. Let's move on. Like, no, let's continue to do it. Let's continue, because it all goes hand in hand. The messaging around our products, the messaging with legislators and regulators, it all is together. We have to continually advocate for our positions. And we have to continue to prove that our products are better. And if we use science and advocacy and podcasts and TV shows or whatever the heck else we need to do, let's do it. I just don't understand why we get so caught up in this. Let's just debate. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. So what am I saying? Stop engaging with trolls on LinkedIn. Because if we engage with trolls on LinkedIn, it's going to increase their reach, and it's going to just make it so more people see this misinformation. So stop doing that. Second, let's not run from microplastics. Let's engage with discussions openly and honestly. And understand that a lot of these people that are talking about this stuff are just scared. They're scared of the thought of microplastics in their brain. So let's tell them why that's not really a concern. If it's not really a concern. If we truly believe that, let's just have a empathetic discussion with them. Let's not just jump on there and say, well, this is wrong and here's how. Because that's not convincing anybody. That actually just makes people more hardened against you. So let's stop doing that. And let's try to expand the reach of platforms like this. I'm not saying just me and just Sam and just Brave Media. Anybody that's talking about plastics in a positive way, let's engage with those statements. Let's engage with those posts. Let's make sure that more eyeballs see those things. And then the last thing is, hey, I want to continue to expand this. This is something I do in my free time, whatever free time that I have. I want to continue to grow the audience here. And that's where I need your help, the audience that I currently have. Engage with my posts. Write a quick review on Apple Podcasts. It could be simple as, good podcast, really like it. If you just put 5 stars on there or 4 stars or whatever the heck you think, that doesn't make as big of a difference as you putting on there, good podcast, really enjoy it, or okay podcast. I don't care. Just any kind of engagement whatsoever, any kind of thing like that is huge for the continued reach of this messaging. So I'm asking a lot from you. I understand that. I'm asking a lot. I'm asking you to take time out of your day, and a lot of you are really busy. But I really think that what I'm doing and what I'm trying to do is really important. I think the whole reason why I continue to do this, like, I don't get any money for this. I lose money on this podcast every year. Let's just be clear. The amount of money that I've spent to put this together, I'm never going to get back. And that's fine. The purpose of this is not to make money and become some sort of podcast millionaire. I'm not the next Joe Rogan. Let's be clear. I know this. I'm talking about a niche industry, so this is never going to get big. But if I want to continue to do this and I really want to make the impact that I want to make, I really need your help. So that's my request today. Looking back on the 50 episodes that I've put together, I've had a lot of really good discussions. Some people that are pro-plastics, but then I talked to a lot of people that are either plastics agnostic or downright anti-plastics. And that's great. I want to do more of that. I want to have more discussions with people that disagree with me. Because if we're not talking to the people that have those feelings and those thoughts and those beliefs, we are never going to make a bigger impact. Because really, I learned a lot from those discussions. I learned a lot about why it is people feel a certain way or believe a certain thing that they do. And I've learned a lot on every one of these discussions. And I would say that I know more about plastics recycling and plastics today than I did a year ago, which is great. I want to continue to learn. I want to continue to have an open mind with these discussions. And I really want to continue to engage with those that disagree with me, because I think that's what we have to do. We can't just keep talking to ourselves. We can't just keep posting on LinkedIn and talking to other plastics people. And they're like, yeah, plastics are great. I've got people that comment on every single one of my posts that are very anti-plastics. Great. I'm going to engage with them. I want to continue that conversation because those are the people that I want to figure out how we can change their mind. And maybe they can't. Maybe they've got some reason why they're just never going to change their mind on plastics, and that's fine too. But I'm going to still talk to them because I like people. I like our industry. I just like all of this. This is what gives me energy on a daily basis. So I want to continue to push these conversations because I think they're important. We've talked to a lot of recycling experts. If you don't know Rick Demko, you need to know Rick Demko. I would say that his podcast, the episode with him on there, I learned more about what to do and what not to do with plastics recycling in that one discussion than with any other discussion. Any of the episodes with the Brave guys on there. If you are not familiar with what Brave Industries is doing to improve recycling, to get small business owners to work together to solve real problems and to keep them from going out of business so we can continue to recycle plastic and then expand plastic recycling. We need more of that. Please continue to support those groups. If you don't know who they are, you need to know who they are. Simon Van Leuven, talked to him about the global perspective of recycling. I thought he had a lot of great insights on what's going on in Australia, what's going on in Asia. How do we make a system, a global system that's fair for recyclers to move materials to where they need to get, so that way we divert more material from landfill. Check that one out. It's a great, great discussion. But the one thing that I keep coming back to is the gratitude that I have for all of the people that have taken the time to talk to me and to record these things, or even when Sam's on. So the amount of time that everybody has given graciously to be on the show, to support the show, I cannot thank you enough. And I will continue to thank this community because I love this community. The people that have supported this podcast and will continue to support it. And I really want to let you know how much you all mean to me. Because honestly, this year's been really freaking hard for me. Specifically for my little girls. We've had a lot of loss. We've had a lot of trials, a lot of problems this year. But the one thing that I've always looked forward to every week is I'm going to talk to somebody this week about plastics and plastics recycling. And it's going to really energize me. And I know that it's going to be valuable to the people that listen. So I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue to push these conversations. And I think what I'm going to end up doing at the end of this episode is put some clips together, some of the most impactful clips, and really throw them together so we can kind of give some kudos to the people that have been on the show that I think have really driven this narrative and have really led to the success of redefining plastics. So once again, thank you all for the first 50 episodes. I'm really looking forward to the next 50, year 2 and beyond. So we're at year 1 of redefining plastics, and we've grown more than I thought we could. Let's see what we can do in year 2. So thank you all. I will tell people within the plastics industry when they are greenwashing or they're doing things that I don't like. I don't
What
care.
is greenwashing?
Greenwashing is when you market something and say that it's a sustainable or it's green or it's this, that, or the other. Use some sort of environmental claim in order to sell something, which may be dubious. So
What is dubious?
foolish.
Okay.
I'm gonna have
So
to
they're
bleep a couple
gaslighting.
things out here on this episode. That is one thing I found. If there's even one swear on any of
Really?
these YouTube videos, the reach goes down by like a quarter.
A huge part of what the U.S. is really great at and has land for is agriculture. But also, we have a problem with depleting soils in this country. And
Also true.
we are looking at 50 more years of good harvest based on current soil quality. And it takes millions of years to create new soil. And compost is an incredibly valuable way we can protect our agricultural capabilities in this country. So I think that the pressure to compost food waste will come not just because we want to get it out of landfills, but because we're going to need compost to uphold a really important industry in this country.
If you don't show that overtly to people around you, nobody's going to take the time to have these conversations with you. So you have to show you have a passion for whatever it is that you're trying to learn and that you really want to be successful. If you don't do those two things, there's probably not going to be a lot of people that are lining up to mentor you. And like I've told you in the past, Sam, that I would be more than happy to spend time with you. I'm running a job that's like 4 people, single dad with 2 kids, but I see the passion that you want to grow and you want to learn. And there are very few people out there that show that in a way that draws people in, that they want to help. Like they're going out of their way to help.
I remain skeptical that California will ever be fully implemented to the effect that it needs to be. In fact, my personal belief on California's SB 54 is that the complexity of it will become so complex that it'll just fall under its own weight. And the result will be a ban on everything. How you actually operate a modern 21st century economy with bans on all products, it's going to be really hard to ship fish across the ocean in paper bags and keep it fresh, and strawberries and avocados and a whole bunch of other things that come from that part. So I remain skeptical about that. I think places like Minnesota and Colorado have a greater chance of seeing that be successful.
And growth in recycling.
And growth in recycling.
Agree. I completely agree.
Oregon, I think initially I was skeptical about it. I think has come a long way in its implementation as well. And so I put that as a third state that could be done correctly. But look, there's some crazy stuff that's being debated in places like in places like New York that would be worse than what's passed in California. And so to me, again, it just would be another market collapse in many ways.
That is America right now. And it really drives me insane because it's like, if the amount of people that virtue signal actually cared, all this stuff would be resolved. I truly believe that. Because if enough people put enough pressure with their money and say, we're not going to give you another dollar until you solve this, you know how quickly things will get done around here?
There might be a slight sea change.
Exactly. And I hate it, but the brands are right in this. Like CPGs are right in the middle of this thing. And I know you got to be a little careful with that because of who you work for, but I can say that because that's my opinion.
I mean, hydrochloric acid, HCl is the chemical formula, very dangerous, very corrosive, need to take a lot of precautions in transport, in use and in disposal, yet we have it in our stomachs. And I don't get eaten from the inside by the hydrochloric acid sitting in the stomach, digesting my food because it has a purpose. And so it's really concentration. So again, we come back to the concept of dose making the danger or dose making the poison.
I'm seeing a lot of brands backtrack. And a lot of people are hiding behind inflation and saying, well, I can't afford to pay for recycled content. And then in my mind, I say, well, then stop talking about it. Stop saying that you're going to have 25% recycled content. Stop putting that market signal out there if you don't truly believe in this. And you're going to have to eat some margin. And, that's probably not the most your shareholders probably aren't going to love that. And there's a reason why you're not going to do that. But then stop sending out the market signal that you care about it. And it's this double-edged sword, right? Like, we don't want people to backtrack, but at the same time, we don't want them to virtue signal either, because then that's just going to cause more people to go bankrupt. And it's this weird space right now where I'm worried. I got to be honest. The one thing that I've noticed in my time going through and working on the advocacy side, half the time it's one NGO or an industry person having these conversations. And what you find is neither of them really know anything about how all of this system works. And they don't even have insights on how to make it better because they don't understand how it works in the first place. And so they institute laws thinking, well, this has to make it better. Like New Jersey bag ban. Any plastic is a down market right now. I don't care what you're producing. I don't care if it's recycled, virgin, bio. It doesn't matter. Everything's down because we keep losing the battle on the narrative. And everybody's moving to paper and glass and all this other stuff. And if we can't solve for recycling at scale and truly believe in it and truly invest in it, then we're going to continue to lose.
Yep.
And that's what you guys are trying to connect here. My primary goal of continuing to have these conversations is that eventually some bigger brands may hear what we're talking about and be like, man, we really need that. Because I can tell you right now, there's probably 2 or 3 brands that I know that actually manage their waste well. The rest of them, it's just a hodgepodge of, get it out the door. It's waste. But you could make it circular if you work with the right partners and you connect the right dots. And there's nobody in those big brands or the big manufacturers that have the time, bandwidth, or expertise to do that. And that's where you guys come in.
From my perspective, the one thing I wanted to mention is if you are involved, anybody who's listening, if you're involved in the polystyrene industry in any way, shape, or form, and you are concerned about the future of polystyrene, come join us. We'd love to have more people join. We've got 13 founding members as of right now. We'd like to double that, triple that, quadruple that over the next couple of years because we need to make a bigger impact. The more people that we have join, the more impact we can have. So if you're interested or would just like to learn more, there's psrecycling.org is our website, or you can reach out to any one of us.
You want to learn more about the plastics industry, recycling, check out these other videos.
Please like and subscribe.